Welcome to another episode of Clear Lake Connections, where we talk to the people behind the businesses of Bay Area Houston, proudly sponsored by UTMB Health. Today I have Holly Hirsch with Cookie Canoodle. Tell me about Cookie Canoodle, because the name is fascinating to me.
Cookie Canoodle is a home-based baking business under the Texas cottage law. I started it about 2 years ago, and so I do it out of my house, and I make cookies and bars and desserts for your needs.
And so who's your main customer?
Anyone really. I sell to Java Owl, local coffee shop. You can also get my products at Robinette Catering. And then I have just a regular clientele of people if they're having a party or a birthday, because I do cut out cookie cakes. Mm-hmm. And anybody that I market to that sees it that needs a product for their event.
So tell me about the cottage law. It's kind of interesting because there's certain requirements that I'm sure you have to meet. And
correct. So under the Texas cottage law, you can't make more than $50,000 a year out of your house, or then you're considered that you have to go into the commercial business. There are certain products that you can't make, like you can't sell a cheesecake because it's dairy, but if it's actually cooked inside of a cookie and you don't have to refrigerate it, you can sell that. And you're not inspected by the state of Texas or the health inspectors.
None of us want them coming in our kitchens at home.
Exactly. So that's part of the Texas cottage law.
And so, but you had formal training in pastries, correct?
Correct.
And so how did you know that that's what you wanted to do? And then tell us about the story about how you finally came back to doing that.
So really, when I was 9, I made my first 3-layer carrot cake with my grandmother on the other end of the phone. And it really started from there. I love pastries, the creativity, the sweetness of it all. Mm-hmm. I loved desserts, and I always said that I would go into the pastry business, but I really ended up in the restaurant world first, and then backtracked to go to school to be a pastry chef. And then I've worked off and on. I worked at Williams-Sonoma, and still, because you still have that into all the cool things. My paycheck never came home. It always stayed at Williams-Sonoma. Yeah. And then once I had a family and my husband traveled overseas, I was like, okay, what can I do that I can still use it and still take care of everything else?
And so you just took the plunge, decided you'd start?
So I took the plunge a few times and it didn't work out. And so then 2 years ago, my kids were old enough and I decided if this was something I really wanted to do, that I needed to start now and start building it. And so my husband and I threw around a bunch of names, and Cookie Canoodle came because Canoodle is hugging and love, and my passion for it and the love of baking.
So it's funny you talked about, this is the third go-around for you trying to,
yes.
But you talked about timing. And I've noticed the same thing in my life. As the kids got older, things became more and more possible. Because yes. if you're spending your time focusing on your kids, that other stuff takes a back seat. So talk a little about how you balanced that, and then, finally you knew again, now I can go with this.
Well, so as my children were getting older, you could have then dropped them off at baseball practice and you didn't have to stay, and you were in carpools, and my husband was actually not traveling as much. Mm-hmm. And so I had a little more free time to dedicate to it, to market research, to test the recipes, to make it happen.
And you're obviously passionate about it. It
yes.
shines through you're smiling, talking about what you're doing. That's always a good thing. Tell me about how that passion translates into your food. And I'm thinking we're going to try it, and then we're going to see if we can taste the passion.
That I am my most critical critic, if that makes sense. If a cookie comes out half flat and half not, I'm like, we can't sell that. And
who gets those, though? The kids?
Yes, the kids, the husband, the neighbors, anyone that wants them can have them. But my passion, as people will tell you, I don't serve edges off of like lemon bars or anything like that, because it has to be a perfect square.
Oh, wow.
So the passion of the presentation and the love of doing it and making sure that it all turns out great. So whatever event, or if you're just eating it, it's perfect for you to enjoy.
So you mentioned that you have steady clientele. You've got some caterers, but you have repeat business from individuals.
Correct.
And so I'm assuming, and we'll find out soon, that the product is outstanding, but it's not just the product. It has to be partly you. Talk about how you build those relationships and kind of the interaction there.
So I try to have a personal relationship with all my customers. So if they call me and they say, oh, I'm having, a dinner party for 15, what kind of dessert? Well, do you really want an enormous cookie? Why don't we cut this down to smaller cookies? And, what is your budget that you're working with? And I can make that happen. So just because you don't see it on my website, they call me and we work through whatever they are looking to do. We specialize to do the cutout chocolate chip cookie cakes for anybody. It's either a letter or numbers, and it's your favorite colors, your favorite candy, or tell me what they like. And, somebody was all into tie-dye. So the entire cake was tie-dye with the letters, and all of the fondant was rolled into tie-dye. And that's something that they wanted. And when you see the smile on their face, that's a huge success part of it.
So it sounds to me you're also a very creative person, and this is a great way to, incorporate both your pastry background, but also your creativity. Talk to me about your creative process and what that looks like.
Well, so I do have a creative team at home, as people call them, my Canoodle elves. Yeah. So everyone at dinner, cookie canoodle is a normal conversation, and I'll tell them I got an order and what do they think of this, or how should we do this? And so that's how it comes about.
And how old are the kids?
My son is 16 and my daughter is 14.
So they're getting some real world kind of entrepreneurial education.
Yes.
Around the dinner table of all places. That's great.
Yes. And they like to sample everything.
I'm sure they do.
Yes.
Are they at all helpful in the kitchen?
Yes. My daughter is very helpful in the kitchen, but they do all know how to scoop cookie dough.
Okay. Well, good. Why don't we try some so that we can taste the passion, confirm that, and then we'll talk some more about what's your favorite kind of cookie and some other things like that. Well, who's going to do this?
I'll do it.
Well, Gary got all dressed up for you today.
Well,
What does everyone want? What should we try first?
Well,
Probably Holly should show them on there. Say what they
so
are,
it
and then we'll
started, the business really started with my chocolate chip cookie and my lemon bars. So that's why I brought those. The apple doodle is the cookie of the month in October, because I do a cookie of the month every month. And then the almond biscotti is what I sell at Java Owl. And somebody at Java Owl calls them crack sticks. So,
well, thank you. All right. Get your cookie.
So
The greatest part about these is listening to Jameson eat all the cookies.
Yeah, that's...
No lemon bars, though.
Lemon bar?
Yeah.
I don't want to mess
If you
up
like
this.
lemon bars, Holly's are the best.
Yeah, and I'm a kind of a biscotti guy, too.
That's coming.
Thank you.
How's the passion? Can you taste it?
Oh, yeah. You definitely can taste when somebody likes what they're doing. So this is delicious.
Thank you.
You started with what's the craziest cookie you've ever had to make for somebody?
So the craziest cookie that I've had to make is... People always want to kind of adjust your recipe, if that makes sense. I say I make a chocolate chip pecan cookie. Oh, well, why don't you add this or why don't you add that? Well, if that's what they want, I'm happy to make it. But chocolate chip pecan cranberry, the cranberries don't really go with that. Now, if you were doing white chocolate chip pecan cranberry, then to me, that would sound much better. So I try to steer them in the direction of, just because they think it sounds good, it might not always taste good.
Yeah. No, these are delicious. The lemon bars. My mom used to make something called lemon curd.
Yes.
And I can taste that in this. It's just so lemony, so not too sweet. Really delicious.
Thank you.
They're so good.
Maybe I should have had that coffee after all. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's set those aside. I'll finish those later. Oh, that is nice. And you mentioned your website. What is the website?
CookieCanoodle.com.
I figured it would be, so probably could have said that. And then you sell these to Java Owl?
I do,
Where are they
and I
located?
also Java Owl's in Nassau Bay.
Okay. I think I've driven by there and seen it. So what's your hopes, your aspirations for Cookie Canoodle?
My hopes and aspirations is that one day actually I move into a commercial kitchen, but not necessarily a storefront. Like you could come pick up your order there, but I'm not going to be there from, 10 in the morning till 7 at night with a whole full case of stuff that you can buy.
No, that's good. And because that obviously means you're surpassing that magic number and that's required at that point. So that's, I guess, it's a great measure of success. And I don't think enough small businesses set those kind of milestones for themselves.
Right.
And so I think that's a good goal to have. What else do you want to tell us about Cookie Canoodle while we finish our cookies?
That I really I'm glad that I finally decided to do it, and the love and support that I have for Cookie Canoodle and the passion that comes out of it. I hope people can tell that through their product, through the service that we give them.
When I love the fact that every dinner is a board meeting. That would be great. As you can tell, I enjoyed my cookies. So you have it sounds like a good partnership with Robinette, with Amy over at Robinette.
Yes.
And you guys have in common that you're both heart survivors.
Yes.
So tell me about that bond that you two have and how that translates into the partnership you've created.
So I actually went in to talk to Amy about catering a huge event for my family one day, and we were just talking about how we were doing or whatever, and she said, I just had open heart surgery in May. And I'm like, you did? She was like, yes. And I said, well, I had open heart surgery at this point. It was 10 years ago, 9.5 years ago. And I said, I did too. And she's like, no, you didn't. And I was like, yes, I did. And so we shared scar stories, and I actually had a valve replaced, and she had bypass surgery, and I had a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old at home when I had it done, and a husband that was traveling overseas. And so we have really made that connection of bouncing things off, because she's like, I can't do any of this yet. No, it takes a long time to recover, and it's something that you deal with the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. But then she got me involved in the American Heart Association, and I was one of their heart survivor features this past year of 2021. Amazing.
So a great partnership and sounds like a great friendship.
Yes.
So continued success. Such a pleasure meeting you. And you do. You have a fantastic product.
Thank you very much.
So Cookie Canoodle, everyone.
Hello, Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce members and Bay Area Houston. If you're a business wanting to expand your customer base, give back to your community, think about the quality of life around Clear Lake area, think about joining the chamber. Go to clearlakearea.com for more information.